What are Copic markers? Wouldn't you like to know? Welcome, friends. I'll be walking you through some of the materials as well as shading, blending techniques. Hopefully I'll get you inspired to colour or draw. My name's Liz Wright and welcome to Liz at Home. Before I get started, if you like what you see in this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that bell notification button so that you'll be reminded every time I upload a new video. So, let's jump right in. Copic markers are an alcohol-based marker. They're a professional grade and come in a variety of sizes and types. Here we have a classic marker. Here we have a Copic Chow, and here we have a Copic sketch marker. I think they come in a very big marker as well. Before I go any further, I am a self-taught colorist with Copic markers. I have no professional training in this at all, so I just want to put that out there. I primarily use the Copic Chow or the Copic sketch. They both come with, let me get to the right side, a brush nib and a chisel nib, whereas the classic Copic marker is sort of square, the Chow is round, and the sketch is like oval flat. So the classic Copic marker comes with like a little bullet nib and also a chisel nib. You can buy yourself a brush nib for that and exchange the nib, and I've done that on some of my markers. There's something else about the Copics that is absolutely great, and that's the fact that they're refillable. They're quite pricey, but the fact that you can buy replacement nibs and tips and that you can refill them makes them super. They come with a kind of a color code. So if you look on the Copic sketch, you will see RV00. Stands for, there's also a name, water lily, stands for red violet 00. So the Copic numbering system describes actually a specific ink formula rather than a color. The letter indicates the color family, the first number designates a mother ink formula, and the final number tells the color value. Understanding this code makes blending easier by helping you select similar markers to use in combination. As well as designating the mother ink formula, the first number also tells you how much gray there is in the color. I have 3 colors here, and starting with RV00, I'm going to just demonstrate and show you the difference in the colors. You can see this is a very pale and pastel color. Then you get, okay, here we have a 06 actually, so this was 00. This is 06, and you can see it's got a more intense color to it because it's 0, and the second number stands for the intensity of the color. So the 6 shows it's very, very intense. They go right up to 9s, and I want to show you one with a bit of gray. So this is RV95, so it's got an intense color, the 5, but a very grayed out intensity of the color. So can you see that? I tend to love these sort of grayed out colors. All right, so that kind of explains that for you. Now I wanted to talk about paper. Normal paper that is not coated like this little notepad of mine, for instance, or normal printer paper, when you color on it with a Copic, or when you draw on it with a Copic, let me use the brush nib. If I put my nib on it and I do that, it sort of soaks in, and you can see a little bit of feathering at the edges as well. It's not enough to worry about too much, and you can use it, but it works a little bit like a sponge with your alcohol marker. So let me draw a border line here. So it soaks up your ink very quickly, and that can get pricey. So now if I'm going to, let me bring this as close to the camera as I can, put the marker near the edge, and then I'm just going to leave the marker down, and you can see it's bled right up to the edge there and now outside. So one needs to be careful if you're using uncoated paper to perhaps color in and leave the edges for the very end, because as you fill that in and say you want to blend with it and layer another color on top, it gets soaked with ink and it keeps spreading, and you end up getting things going over the edges. You also get a lot of bleeding at the back through that page, through to the next page, through to the next one, and through to the next, through to the next, and through a little bit. So if you are going to use uncoated paper, a very good idea to put 1 or 2 sheets behind it. You can get coated paper as well. A very nice paper that I found here in South Africa is this Hewlett-Packard Color Choice. It is 160 GSM, and there are 168 sheets in here. This is a full paper, but you get Nina Solar White, which is very good as well. That's available in most countries. It's quite expensive though, and you get actual Copic papers as well. Those are all coated. With that being said, because they're coated, they don't soak up the ink so much, so you can't put in that many layers. All right, going on to blending. When we color in, let's just take this very bright pink here and do a bud. I hope that you can see what I'm doing. When you color with, actually I'm going to do one of these leaves rather. When you color with just a flat color, with any alcohol marker, if you go quickly, it can tend to be streaky. That's one of the nice things about Copics, is that they streak less, but it is good to go a bit slowly and do lines next to each other. And then you get that nice sort of velvety smooth lay down. And it's sitting on top of the paper for a little bit, so we didn't get a line where the two came together. And now I want to put in the edges, and I'm working fairly carefully to attempt not to go over those edges. There we are. I find it very, 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 very hard to talk while I'm coloring. I think as I get older, so my ability to multitask becomes less. All right, so that's nice, but it's a little bit boring. So now what one can do is leave that for a while to dry and use the same color to blend with, but we can also choose a different color. Now let's look at our numbers. This is RV06. So it's a 0, so it would be a good idea to probably choose another color with a 0 in it. So I'm just having a look. I've got V05 here, and these are quite close to each other, so I'm wondering what they would look like together. So now the 6 is brighter, so I'm going to try this next one here, and I'm going to start doing these gentle backward and forward, and then I'm going to do one of the things that is really nice about a Copics is that because of the brush nib, it's a bit like a paintbrush, so you Put it down hard and feather it up lightly. I always have to turn my papers. And then that has lightened up the one edge, so now we can go with our next one and go over that bit lightly and then feather down a bit. Lightly and move down. Quite an interesting color combo. Getting my edges colored in. But there's a line. So what are we going to do? Now we're going to make magic. We're going to take our first color and we're going to go over the base again. This time stay a bit away from the edges. Feather up, feather up, feather up. And go with this one again and go the other way. Feather into it. And then keep playing until you get the blend that you wanted. I just want to show you something. See, I'm going right over here. One of the things that happens, because I wasn't careful enough to stay away from the edges, even with this coated paper, it's gone over the edge there because they got too much ink on this. When I feel the back, it is wet and alcohol markers dry quickly, so it's become quite saturated with ink. But that's a fairly seamless blend. Now this piece has dried already, and I'm going to show you what we can do with this very same color. You can layer, so you're going to go over it again with this color and feather up at the edges, and that will make a slightly darker base area. Oh, I've just gone out the edges again, sorry. So we're going to get a slightly darker color there. Now I want to try and blend two different colors. I'm going to use this violet 20 and a blue. I had a nice blue. And that's 95, 39, 97. Not quite sure what color I originally used, but let's just try that. See what they look like. So I'm going to go, actually let me use 3 colors. So I've got 93, 95, and then 20, which is the light, which will be the highlight. So I'm going to go with the 95 in the darkest area. It's quite a grayed out color because of the 9 number. We can always fix that edge up at the end rather than risk going out. Now, going over that and going up while it's still wet, so they kind of blend into each other. The 93, and now using this V20 just to see how interesting it can look. That's pretty. Now I'm going to repeat the whole little scenario again. It becomes more vibrant. You can just do it once, but it just becomes more vibrant if you layer a bit more. And then this one, going the other way around this time. This time I'm going to get the edges done, and I just want to go over the join. And I'm going to use this here. And that's a fairly seamless blend. And a last time with this lot. There we are. Not bad, because they're not that close to each other in color. So now with Copics you also get what's called a blending pen. This is a 0. And that is basically without any pigment in whatsoever. It is just the fluid that the pigment is in. And when you use that, if you've got a problem, for instance, like where I went out of the line there, it will bleach it a little bit, put it on and leave it a bit. You can also give yourself a bit of a highlight. Say I wanted to just do a bit of a lighter area there, and I've painted that on a few times. It will bleach that out. And you get this, I've got the main Copic, and then I've also got a Copic Chow with that one. So you could, over here, for instance, where the two colors meet, you could actually go over that whole area with this once or twice. And then I always just clean my nib off. And then maybe go over the dark area again to build up the color. And that's not bad. So there we have some interesting colors happening. Then the next thing, if you want to color a face with Copics, I've just got this little face that I drew digitally. It's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. I just wanted to quickly show you. I find my 3 go-to colors for Caucasian skin is E000 to start with, and then I start with the lightest and I go over the whole face area. I will probably speed this up. So we go through the whole face area. I'm just going to go up to her necklace. I'm not going to do all of her skin now, because it will take too long for this demonstration. Oh, the pink from below is shining through. Then, to create some shadows, this was E000, we use E00, and we go around the edges, quite thick lines. Like I'm doing the whole part of this forehead here, and in there, because the hair would be falling down there and creating a lot of shadows. Then under the eyebrow, under the eye, but not around the nose area, in there, and then quite a fat bit in the shadow area around the edge of the face, a little bit under the mouth, a little bit where the nose would come down, and around the neck. So can you see we're already starting to get a bit of a shape? Then we go back to our E000 and we go over the whole bang shoot again. So over it all, and you kind of blend it into the middle area. So it's very much like colouring with pencils, strangely enough, if you want to get a good professional looking finish. It just, for me, it hurts my hands less. And one gets this sort of smoother colour. That pink is still shining through there. Now we're going to take a darker one. I use E51, and again, because the 5, bit more grey in this, so for shadows that's good, and the 1 a bit more colour as well. So again around the edges. I want to give that bit of nose shadow there, just to make her face look a little less flat. And underneath her mouth, and underneath her eyes, and along the eyebrow bit. And then I'm going to take the E000 and just blend that in slightly, so going over it again and coming in, but I'm leaving a little bit of highlight. So you can, if you wish, add like a bit of blusher or something. I usually leave that till later, till I've got the hair in, and see what it all looks like. Shall we give her a pink mouth? Let's give her a lipstick called Baby Blossoms, although that's going to be a bit grey. Go with the coral one. Light light prawn is the name. Giving her a bit of a mouth there. And there we have it. So I hope that you found something useful in this video, and that you've learned a little bit more about Copics. And if you have any questions, please drop me a line, ask me a question, and I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.